All right, hey, if you feel ripped off because you spent between $11 and $20 seeing Ridley Scott's Napoleon, we got the movie for you.
We do.
And it's called...
It's Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Minus one.
Godzilla Minus One. Who would have thought that would have been the movie to see this Christmas time? But it definitely is. So Carl clued us in with a text.
Thank you, Carl.
We decided to go check it out because he said, why we're wasting our time seeing Napoleon
when you could see Godzilla?
And Godzilla was awesome, right? It's a total Godzilla fantasy movie, but it's set in a historic time period.
Yep.
And they get the historical details right.
They do. This is a movie that spends its time paying attention to the details and being authentic.
Yeah. So if you were like offended by all the crazy stuff that was not correct in Napoleon, like trenches at Waterloo. Don't get me started. Trenches at Waterloo, all kind of stuff.
No, we're reviewing Godzilla.
I know.
That's right. There's some trauma here.
Godzilla, they got it right. So it is set at the very end of World War II in Japan to 1947. So late 45, 47.
Yep.
Right? And here's one little detail that blew my mind when I saw it. Godzilla is a sea creature. So they need a navy to fight it. They don't really have a navy, but there's a heavy cruiser, the Takao, that was in Singapore. And at the time, at the end of the war, it really was in Singapore. It was out of fuel, and it had to make its way back to Japan. So in this movie, it's doing that, and it fights Godzilla. It's awesome.
It's cool.
It's awesome.
It's really cool.
And when they show it, the CGI, it really looks like the Takao. So it's really awesome.
They did a great job.
And it's a great setting. It helps everything feel more desperate because the Japanese self-defense force has very little. You're seeing destroyers go out there with the guns removed.
Right. Yeah. It's really great. So, Ben, what about the historical setting?
Post-war Japan was handled really, really well. Like, you start in Tokyo, and it's just a shanty town. It has been bombed. You know, buildings are burned out. A lot of people have died. People are traumatized. Yeah. It feels really authentic.
In the battles.
It was evocative, right? In a way that Napoleon never was.
Right.
The march to Moscow didn't seem as desperate as this.
No, it wasn't too bad. A couple guys got cold.
It was really cool.
You know, sniffles.
And the characters, they really drew me in. There's like a little orphan girl, broke my heart. And the main character is a kamikaze pilot. And spoiler alert, he doesn't crash his plane, or the movie would have been over real quick at that point. Right? But, I mean, they're commenting on that. I think, Matt, you picked up on all the cool ways they were commenting on Japan.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see how Japan portrays itself in these fantasy films, right? Yeah. Where they're a little freer to talk about whatever they want. And they definitely show in a way that you don't see in all Japanese media. They talk about sort of the Japanese wartime value placed on human life, lack thereof, about kamikaze pilots. And they talk about the Japanese trust in their government and the secrecy of the Japanese government in wartime and post-wartime in a way that you don't always see in a lot of Japanese media.
And I think you just hit on it, right? Because it's a fantasy movie, they probably don't have the same restrictions on themselves. They can kind of be more free, and they do. And I think it's
there's a lot of interesting social commentary that I do not see in a lot of Japanese media.
Absolutely. What I did not see, which is pretty normal for Japanese fiction or any media from Japan, is they don't really engage with any of the Japanese war crimes that happened during the war or anything remotely like that. They have some opportunities to. They have a character that's supposed to be a naval weapons technician, naval weapons developer, and there's a chance for them to talk about what he might have done during the war, and they choose not to go down that route.
To be fair, there's a lot of American films, too, that also don't talk about maybe the darker side of the United States, too. I wouldn't necessarily hold that against this film.
Yeah, totally.
But fair point.
But, I mean, I think Godzilla movies in general, right, through the decades, have always been a way for the Japanese to comment on who they are post-war.
Yeah.
And this is an anniversary film, right?
70th anniversary.
70th anniversary. So, you know, they're kind of thinking back. And there are a lot of callbacks to original Godzilla movies.
For sure.
Being a kid of the 70s, I used to watch the original Godzilla, you know, kind of move around. And, like, they the Godzilla has that feel. He's just kind of
Yeah, they made this good Godzilla look a lot more like the original Godzilla that
Yeah.
I've seen
It's
in
got
some
the,
of the recent Godzilla films.
Pudgy little iguana legs and the
Right.
T-Rex arms. That's all there. Oh, yeah.
And the tanks, right? I always remember in the 70s, they'd roll out these tanks, they'd shoot at and he'd stomp on them. They make an appearance.
It goes about as well for them as it has in the other Godzilla.
But it was
movies.
That's not
to
much
see.
of a spoiler, yeah.
It was nice to see. It was nice to see.
Yeah.
And I got my line for a war game.
Yeah.
The next time I play a naval game and I sink Ben,
What?
I'm gonna. I get to say I sank Godzilla.
Oh no!
Ben is our Godzilla. Got it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Lesson learned.
It's really good.
I'll
There's
make
also
sure he never says it.
for you plane aficionados out there is a little sneak appearance of a prototype Japanese aircraft that's very cool.
Right. And what's cool about that, when it came out, I immediately recognized it as something that was historical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was really cool.
And for you German speakers out there, there's a little 10-minute early spoiler that comes out of that.
Yeah,
You'll
don't
have to
speak
see it.
The Germans aren't talking to us after we murdered Tipple Skirch. Sorry.
You did say it right that time, though. Tipple Skirch.
Okay. I get a lot of flack for how I'm saying things. Sorry.
That will never stop.
Believe it or not, go see Godzilla Minus One.
Yes.
It's the greatest action war movie this Christmas time.
There we go.
It
Qualify that.
It gets our heartfelt recommendation. It's
It
worth
does.
seeing.
Yeah,
does.
if you're still hurting from seeing Napoleon, this will make you feel better. Get some popcorn, get a soda, and have a great time. And you will learn something about post-war Japan.
You sure
It
will.
actually inspired me to get a book off my shelf that I haven't read yet called Enduring Defeat, which is all about Japan in these years and how they survived the war. So any film that inspires me to kind of do more research, I think it's done its job.
All right.
Totally agreed.
Well, like and subscribe.
All right.
We're going to review more war and more adjacent movies.
Yeah. And if you watch this film and then decide to go make a Godzilla-themed war game, let us know in the comments.
Oh, yeah. We'd
Yes.
love to hear if you have
For
any
sure.
Godzilla-themed war
It has to happen. Someone's got to do it. Take up that mantle.
That'd be great. All right. We'll see you next time. Take care.